You are watching Pucknology After Dark. Oh my. It's freaking hot out here and we're talking hockey. Isn't it awesome? I mean, come on. That's what I love about you. Anyways, welcome to Pucknology After Dark. I am Eric Kura, otherwise known as PuckGuy14. I'll be joined by constituents in a moment. Tonight we will discuss night one of the NHL draft. On top of Pavel Datsyuk is now an Arizona Coyote, among other things. Oh, look at that tease. If you want to join the conversation, here's how you do it. Use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark to ask questions, comment about the show, comment about what you saw tonight. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at PuckGuy14, the Pucknology account as well. You also have I Read Pucknology, and at Kevin Lacey22 is also joining us. With us tonight. Oh, by the way, wait a minute. Sorry, one second. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you can also join us on the YouTube chat as well. We'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the evening. Got ahead of myself. Forgive me.
Story.
It's a very true story. That voice you hear, the angry Canadian. Oh no, he's not really angry. It's June 24th. Why not?
I'm fucking
Ian
hot.
Reed.
I'm angry.
How hot is it over there?
Hi. It's warm. It's really humid right now. It's kind of muggy. I don't really want to put my fan on because I think it would just make a bunch of noise, and then people get annoyed at me, and it's awesome. Yeah. So here we are. Draft was tonight. One of my favorite times of the year, which is pretty much anytime there's anything hockey to talk about. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to just being back on the air, honestly.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, and I think we needed the away time, but I'm glad we're back. Also joining us tonight is Kevin Lacey with hands down the best jersey ever seen on SportsCenter.
There you go.
Well, hello, thanks for having me, guys, and I just want to give a thank you to the warm welcome we've gotten here in San Jose this weekend, and a shout out to our draft party on Pucknology.net who are watching live via the website or on YouTube. Our next selection will be back to you, Eric.
Yes, our next selection will be a graphic that shows the draft logo, because that's what we're going to talk about right off the bat, and that is the 2016 NHL entry draft. Round one was tonight. It was very, very, we thought, okay, no biggie here and there, anywhere. Then all of a sudden, first pick, Austin Matthews. Yeah, we already knew that was coming. Second pick, we heard some ramblings about Patrick Laine may not be the guy for Winnipeg, or Winnipeg might move down. And then we just went, once Columbus selected, with Pierre-Luc Dubois, which made Edmonton, because, Edmonton knows that they just do not draft defensemen, kind of like how the Detroit Lions don't only select wide receivers in the draft. Went with Jesse Puljujarvi. Oh, I nailed that one.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. Vancouver, 5th overall, went with Oli Juolevi. All right, thank you, thank you. I'm getting this, and I'm reading this backwards, which is even better.
Hey, you did better than Ron Hextall messing up his own guy's name. So.
That's true.
6 was Matthew Tkachuk. I thought for sure Arizona would move up one spot to grab the son of their first captain, but Calgary took him. Arizona didn't take Clayton Keller. 7th overall, Alexander Nylander. It's still Nylander, right? Because I keep hearing it's back, and it's Nylander. All right, he went to Buffalo, which is going to set up something really awesome. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Montreal at 9 took Mikhail Sergachev. So the poor guy's now not only going to have to learn English, he's also going to have to learn French. And, and rounding out the top 10, Tyson Jost goes to the Colorado Avalanche. Ian, I'm going to start with you. Through the first top 10, of course. What did you think of the first top 10?
Well, obviously, Jesse Puljujarvi falling to fourth really surprised me. But from Columbus's standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I mean, you have him listed as left wing here, but this is a guy that can also play center. And I think that is a huge need for them after losing Ryan Johansson, where Puljujarvi cannot play center, period. So I think that's a big I think that's a big plus for them, and that's why they made that pick. And then when you have Puljujarvi going to Edmonton, they can't not take him at that point. I mean, they are so set now that they can just pretty much they can trade whoever they want now and be fine after and get a defenseman that can help them compete right now because they're loaded now. Like they're just loaded. It's silly.
All right, Kevin, what did you take from the first 10?
Obviously the biggest thing. Oh, my thingy lit. See, my Western Conference Finals light up bracelet still works, and I actually forgot I was even wearing it. But there you go. Puljujarvi was the major deal, or I guess Dubois was the major deal because I know I screamed across the house when that happened. I'm a huge Jesse Puljujarvi fan, and I went into the season going, if Matthews wasn't the number one overall pick, Puljujarvi would definitely be it. Lining obviously took the world by storm this season, so those were the three guys. So I was pretty astonished at that move. Dubois worked his way up, obviously, to gain favor with the Blue Jackets. I think a huge part of it may have been there was a hot rumor going on right before the start of the draft that Sonny Milano had been traded from the Blue Jackets. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was true, if that fell through, if that had actually gone through, I should say, if they would have taken Puljujarvi at 3 instead, because maybe whoever they got Milano for would have been a top center or something. Other than that, the rest of the round kind of just fell exactly how I expected. I mean, I really like Tyson Jost, but him at 10, that makes sense.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see. I think I might have had him at 12. I think so. 10 really isn't a stretch to me.
No, I had him at 8. So.
Yeah, I had a couple things right there. Kachuk to Calgary. I mean, that's unfortunate for us. I think that team is.
Yeah.
Now that they have Brian Elliott, I know we're going to talk about this more later. But
what was awesome was that everyone, not just, I mean, you were like leading the bandwagon, Ian, but everybody was going, and Kachuk to Calgary if they just got a goaltender, and then for you,
and then
we have a trade to announce.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I was like, uh-oh, here it comes.
And I know I was really, really high on Calgary last year, but I'm kind of picking him up again.
Well, so was AJ about Calgary. That they were. But I mean, what you have Monahan, Johnny Hockey, and now you're gonna have Matthew Tkachuk. That's a great threesome of forwards to go with an awesome decor. And I know Edmonton's kind of hoping and pushing to have a turnaround here now with their new building. Calgary might actually beat them to getting into a playoff spot, I think, down the road for sure with those pickups that they had tonight. I'm sorry, but Calgary can look pretty dangerous, I think, now.
I like the Nylander pick to Buffalo too. I think that's gonna be fun because those Toronto Buffalo games are they used to be fun when both of those teams were good. They used to be fun. I know most kids won't remember those days. There's dinosaurs and stuff, but when those teams were good, that was a fun rivalry. And now you have like a sibling rivalry on top of that. I cannot wait.
Right. Yeah. And for those who don't know, what is it? 90-minute drive between Buffalo and Toronto.
Yeah, about that.
And it's just. Usually Toronto invades Buffalo a lot, and so that's just going to be one big thing. And now you're going to have William against why can't I think of his name again? Alex. That's going to be a fun rivalry, and you're right there too. That's going to be quite awesome. So moving on to the rest of the first round, I mean. we had what New Jersey and Ottawa swap. Ottawa picked up. Why can't I move my cursor anymore?
I
You
woke
know,
up Logan Brown.
Logan Brown. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean 6'6", 208 from Windsor. I mean the guy just right there alone seems like a beast. And he says he tries to pattern himself around Joe Thornton, which means Ottawa get ready for a lot of passing.
He's a good, but he's really good. Like I think Joe Thornton in the respect that because Logan Brown has a decent shot. I don't think it's an amazing shot. But he has a decent shot, but the way that he can protect the puck with his body and the way he can use his stick, like there's definitely a lot of similarities to that game. And I think that that was a great pick for Ottawa because there was two teams where I kind of had him pegged going to, and that was either Ottawa or Montreal because I think they both needed some size up front.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Ottawa picking him up made a lot of sense. I liked Montreal's pick for Sergachev. I thought that was a nice defensive pull. Um, going back on the D though, with you have Yolevi going to Vancouver, I thought that with Kachuk on the board that maybe Vancouver would jump on that, but I mean they need everything, and if you're gonna look for defense, I mean to me Yolevi was definitely the best D on the board. So I don't love it. If I'm a Vancouver fan, I'm probably drunk and confused right now and contemplating flipping cop cars, but not because we didn't lose any hockey games.
But my whole thing was I thought you could get him later in the round, and that's why I was like, okay, perfect timing to make a trade with Arizona, swap picks, get another pick, maybe not their late first rounder, but maybe their second round pick. Let them go up draft pick Chuck and do that. And I was like, really, you're just gonna take that? And I already know there's a lot of people already um, talking about, oh boy, they picked him too early. They probably could have grabbed him at 7 and get
Yeah,
something
but when
else.
you're one or two picks, though, I mean, is it really worth? If you're just going to take him anyway, is it really worth losing the second or third round pick that top 10 pick's going to cost you to move? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, you're talking about we thought that Kachuk would end up going to Arizona. Arizona, we thought they probably need a defenseman. They've got Domi, they've got DeClaire, they've got Strome, they've got all kinds of youth up front. And then they got Clayton Keller, who's another potential dynamite forward for them, skilled forward for them. And it was like, man, what are they going to do about defense? And then Jacob Chikrin fell all the way to 16.
Right?
I was like, okay, well, I guess that worked out for them after all.
So what did you think about that, Kevin? Because I was surprised but not surprised. I thought that he wasn't going to be like a super top 10 pick, but I didn't think he would fall out of the lottery picks.
Let's see, where the heck did I put him? I put him at 11, and I think you had him at 10?
I had him at 10.
Yeah, I had him at 11, and so, like, when you think about it, 16's not that far of a fall, but when you consider the fact that going into the season, he was being considered as a number 3, number 4 overall pick,
Yeah.
was he really that detrimental to his team this season? Because, I mean, I know he came off shoulder surgery, but when I saw him in the Don Cherry Prospects game, I didn't think he was as bad as the commentators were saying. Yeah, he was a little wonky, but he showed a lot of talent, a lot of raw talent, and now he's in the Sharks division. He's going to be pissed off that he dropped to 16, and now we have to suffer that.
Yeah. See, the thing is, though, is he was like, I know he didn't have the greatest prospect game given the injury, and I know that was probably held against him a little more. But I just, this is also a guy though that he just was really inconsistent. I mean, he was left off Team Canada, which maybe not the best World Junior team we've ever assembled. But he was still left off the team, and I think that was a stroke against him. I didn't think he was that fantastic in the first round when Sarnia got upset by the Greyhounds. Like, I didn't think he was very good that series at all. So I mean, I just think that there's consistency issues there. I didn't think he'd fall to 16 though. I knew that he'd probably be the third, but I didn't think a guy like McAvoy would get picked before Chekrin.
Yeah. I actually had McAvoy right after Chikrin at on 12 on my list, but I was waiting for teams to be just chomping at the bit to move up. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Right.
So, in the sense of, where are all the trades? Like, God,
Right.
let
Here we are. We're all talking. Okay, here Malkin might be moving. PK might be moving. Vancouver could be trading their number 5 pick and Bo Horvat to Montreal for PK Subban, and we didn't get anything except for maybe Brian Elliott.
That doesn't surprise me, though. I think like a lot of these, I mean, these rumors are there's so many moving parts now, especially with the salary cap. Like like some of these rumors, they take some time to flesh out. And the one that was, the interesting one to me was the packages that Edmonton was apparently going to throw together to get Subban, which I don't think there is any. I don't understand these Subban rumors. They make no sense to me. Why would you get rid of? I mean, I understand that you signed him to maybe too much money, but why are you getting rid of? Why are you getting rid of? Why would you get rid of a PK Subban? Like,
it's simple. It was 9-0.
Yeah.
Right. It was 9-0. Right. Because ever since they lost that one game, that whole team just went.
Yeah, that's dumb.
But
sorry, Eric, for a sec. I think part of it with the trades, though, or the lack of trades, is that we're starting to see over the last few years, the media is really trying to push. This is going to be a heavier than usual trade deadline, only because they're dying to fill up TV. Because trading keeps dropping. And granted, with the expansion coming up here in a year, there probably will be an uptick in trades, but I don't expect just the roof to be blown off one day.
No, me neither. Like, it's just, it's silliness. Like, it was funny because it was like, it seemed like, what you were saying too was like, these Subban rumors came out, and then like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, thanks for all the clicks. There's no truth to this.
Right. It's ridiculous. I don't get it. But moving on. So to finish what we're talking about in the first round, America, puck yeah. The most Americans drafted in the first round ever in the NHL draft. 12 first-round picks were born from the United States. The Canadians made a nice, valiant comeback to make it 11. In Finland, I think, had 4, 5, if I'm not mistaken. Had a great run there. But I'll throw this to you, Kevin, since Ian's Canadian. What is the go for the development of America in their hockey program, especially since we hear about, oh my God, Austin Matthews, he's from Arizona. How can you relate to the passion of hockey? I heard like on TSN in Vancouver, like, he could grow up in Flin Flon, Manitoba. Who cares where he's coming from? If he's got the passion for hockey and he's damn good at it, he's going to be good.
I think there was a guy, some Rangers guy, like Brian Leach or something, who was from Texas. I mean, he's aight, I guess. Right. But it's pretty awesome to see the development of USA Hockey. We actually touched up on it on the Pucknology Writers Room, episode 1. Go watch it for a little bit about the development over the last few years, and now we're really seeing it here this year. Team USA down the road is going to be incredible, and actually it's disappointing that, on multiple levels, it's disappointing there won't be an Olympics or NHL involvement in the Olympics in 2018, because I'd really like to see the continual development as we get on towards 2022 or whatever. But it is nice for the marketing, because we sure saw it a lot. I don't know if you saw it, Ian, because I think you were watching on CBC, but boy, NHL on NBC was really pushing that USA card, and man, was there a St. Louis drinking game going on here?
Oh, come on. Let's talk about how we're comparing Matthew Tkachuk to Gronkowski. I mean, what? What?
Yeah, okay, NHL, if you have to use football clips to promote your NHL draft, then you need to do a better job of promoting the league as a whole here.
I mean,
Oh, I agree.
wait. So if Matthew Kachuk is Rob Gronkowski, what the heck is Austin Matthews then? You know, I
Joe
mean, come on.
Montana.
I guess. Although then, if that was the case, he should have been drafted in the third round. But I digress.
I'm just trying to like appeal to the audience here. Okay, I don't know shit about football.
Hey, CFL started last night. Come on, go Rough Riders. Um, the Argos sucked last night, by the way. Anyways, moving on. This is not CFL After Dark. This is Pucknology After Dark. Gen X is gonna kill me.
CFL after,
But hey, we could talk about the Sacramento Gold Miners if we keep this up. Anyways, moving on. Um, Speaking of another league that really isn't too much on the radar, the BCHL, which is kind of how would you describe it, Ian?
Okay, so here's how the BCHL works. The BCHL is kind of what you do. It's considered it's not considered a pro league, and the big distinction between it's a league on the West Coast, and really this is the league you're going to play in if you want to go to college in the U.S. Because if you play in the WHL, then you automatically lose your NCAA, because that's considered a pro league. So basically, the BCHL, it's surprising we had 3 draft picks here because it's an inferior league to the WHL. The quality competition is kind of compared to, I would even say it's kind of meh compared to even like the UCHL, for example, the USHL rather. It's not, to me it's just not it's surprising you would have 3 guys come from there. And Detroit's pick really surprised me, but I mean, when you've done the things that they've done in Detroit, I mean, who am I to tell them how to draft? I mean, it just kind of makes me look stupid. But their pick really kind of threw me off, but then, because it's Ken Holland, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, I'm going to throw this to either of you then. With 3 picks in the BCHL and the number of Americans drafted this year, do you think that we would have had a vastly different first round if there had been stronger Canadian junior players in the WHL, OHL, and Q? Like, do you think that because they were viewed as like it was a weaker season for those leagues, is that why we saw 3 BCHL guys, or do those guys really deserve to be first-round picks?
I mean, it's hard to say because I think Penticton was just head and tails above the rest of the league, if I recall. I don't really watch I don't follow it that closely. So, in the chat, if you do, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Penticton, where both Jost and Fabro came from, was just heads or tails above the rest of the league. So I think that. And the other thing is like it's not so much that I think it was the lack of quality. I think it was just a weird draft year. Honestly, you just had a lot of a lot of guys, like, it was a weird draft year because a lot of the guys in the OHL that were playing big roles on teams were already drafted this year. You didn't really have, other than maybe London, which obviously had a few prospects and more that are going to go tomorrow. A lot of teams, if you look at a lot of teams that did really well, Barrie, Kevin LeBlanc, Dylan Sadaway. And you just kind of go through the list, and it's just drafted. So I don't know if it was a weak league this year. I think it was just like a weak birth year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But what's interesting is the three BCHLers go in the first round, and yet, and I'm taking this from Lauren Belfoy, the first Western Hockey League pick didn't come until 13th overall. That just goes to the success of the BCHL, of how great they've been on developing. Yeah, they take the extra step to go to college, but they're on their right way. They're on their way to a successful career in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are going to go to college, which gives them extra time to develop, obviously. You can play in your college years until whenever. But I just think that, I don't know if it's just the rise of the league. I just think it's, it's just that if you want to be, if you're in Canada and you want to go to college instead of going the CHL route, I mean, that's just the way you go. And I think that's just it. I just think they're a good team, and I think, like I said earlier, it was just a weak year for draft eligible talent from the big three. If that makes any
Gotcha.
sense.
All right, and we shall move on as I'm going through the chats. That everybody was making fun of me with the CFL knowledge.
That's
Shut
fine.
up. Shut up. Quickly onto the question. Bradley asked, okay, let's get to the good stuff. Who are the Sharks taking at 210th overall?
I love that. I love that question.
A player.
A player. All right. Sounds
They will take
good.
a guy. He probably will play. He'll play either forward, defense, or goaltending.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and ask me that tomorrow around, let's see,
1 p.m.?
noon?
Yeah,
Noon?
there you go.
Yeah, and
We'll have you covered.
I'll let you know.
Awesome. All right, moving on. So let's recap the trades that occurred tonight. Of course, we kind of already went over the Elliott trade. There might be some trickle-down effect from the Sharks' perspective a little bit later on that. The other one that happened early, Andrew Shaw got traded to Montreal for 2 seconds and reportedly has agreed to possibly a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, though.
I don't think that's been confirmed yet, but the word is that they had a deal with Chicago, but then the cap number came out and it was only 73, I guess, and that basically put the kibosh on the deal. So they had to obviously move him. He's a restricted free agent. You have some cost control there, but I mean, he could still take you to arbitration and probably get himself a decent amount of money. So I think that trading was probably the right thing to do, and this is the cost of what's going to happen when you have 2 top players signed for $20 million between them, $22 million between them. That's the cost to do it. You want to keep those players. You're going to constantly be, losing out the bottom, and eventually it's going to catch up. It won't catch up to him right away, but it's going to catch up to him sooner than later.
Right. Yeah, and that's the catch of having big name players through it. Kevin, what did you think of the trade?
Well, that sucks. Like, Shaw was a huge part of their identity, but when you think about it, they ended up with Artemi Panarin working out. So, and he's better than Shaw.
Yep.
So there's a win for them, and they got 2 second-round picks. So if in one weird, skewed way, you could say they got Panarin and 2 second-round picks for Shaw. But as far as just the trade itself, I was actually really surprised because I heard the Caps get Lars Eller, and I thought, all right, well, I mean, how many years are we going to hear this is the year for Lars Eller? Like,
yeah,
I guess he did need a change of scenery, but I figure if we were going to see greatness out of him, it would have already happened.
Some sort of flash.
Right, and then, so I'm thinking, what's going on with the 2 seconds? Montreal's giving up giving up 2 seconds for Shaw, but then they ended up getting 2 seconds anyway. And Shaw, Montreal came out huge in that.
Yeah, they did. They pulled the wool over on Washington, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, though, is something that's not said in all this. Like, if you're gonna move Shaw, isn't that when you want Teravainen still there?
Yeah.
I mean,
but here's the thing. So they get rid of Bickle, Shaw, Teravainen, and they get 3 second-rounders and a third-rounder back.
Yeah, man, that's tough. I mean, you look at the players that they've lost. I mean, they've still, they keep winning Stanley Cups, and they're still super competitive. But I mean, Saad, Teravainen, like, this has got to catch up to him at some point.
Yeah, eventually it will.
Well, great drafting for them over the years has helped kind of alleviate that, because they still have
big
guys
time
like Hartman in the minors,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Rockford continues to develop great talent.
Yep.
Um, Speaking of teams to grow, let me try that again.
Mm.
Speaking of teams that develop greatly in their minor league system, the Detroit Red Wings, and they made a major move today, at least I would say, by dropping 4 spots in the draft. They picked up an extra pick, and they sent Pavel Datsyuk, right, uh, to Arizona. Uh, so Arizona doesn't have to completely. Now they have enough space to play with the floor. They don't need to pay Datsuk the $7.5 million, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Correct?
he'll just go on the. He'll just go on the. They'll suspend him.
Okay.
They'll suspend him. I mean, I think they won't have to pay him, but his cap hit will be there, and he can still. I'm not sure how that's going to work actually, because I think if they
He declared
suspend him, his
retired.
cap
He
hit.
retired, though.
Oh, did he declare
So,
retirement?
Yeah.
Then,
yeah.
then, yeah,
So,
then, so it's a 35 plus contract. They're just gonna eat they're just gonna eat the cap hit. Then, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
that's it. Craig
That's it.
Button actually brought up a really good point on that. You're only paying. I mean, assuming that they're going to be right at the cap floor or the
Mhm.
salary floor. You got 54 on the records and you're only paying 46. That's not bad, especially if you're a low budget team like the Coyotes are.
Right.
But
And all kinds of craziness going on with the Coyotes.
they did give up a lot, though. I mean, Detroit got a lot for Datsuk's contract, though, considering everyone was talking about Detroit's going to have to package someone, not Larkin, but someone, with the Datsuk contract. Detroit ended up getting a first-round pick and got rid of them.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. And they got him off the books, and of course, what that means is that sets them up to be a player in the Steven Stamkos sweepstakes.
Yeah, they're gonna be huge on Stamkos.
Oh, big time, big time. Um, so with that, I think we covered all the trade. Well, we'll quickly go over the Elliott trade
Yeah,
again. Yeah, I mean, Calgary's got their goaltender now.
for a
They
second
have
round pick,
right.
which is insane when you consider like it's the big storyline for me going into this offseason. I'm sure we'll discuss this again tomorrow somewhat. Is that like it's sink or swim time for some of these goalies now. There's no safety net anymore. Jake Allen doesn't have a safety net anymore. Jonathan Gibson doesn't have a safety net anymore. Like these, it's sink or swim time for some of these goalies, and you're going to see this more, especially with I feel bad for Reimer because Reimer is going to get squeezed right out now because with the expansion draft coming up and teams only being able to protect one goalie, you're going to see teams like Pittsburgh or Tampa Bay, that they don't want to lose Matt Murray, they don't want to lose Vasilevsky, but their starting goaltender has a no movement clause. They're going to have to move them
Right.
to a different team or they're going to keep their aging goalie and they're going to lose their heir apparents. So I think that's that's going to be a huge storyline all year.
Got it. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Um, it's going to be an interesting trade deadline, and it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be an interesting off season for the teams that don't make the playoffs because they're going to kind of have a head start on their picks. Um, he wants in now, huh? Of course.
What about so I think the writing's kind of been on the wall. Like James Reimer's probably Xing off the days towards free agency, going, I got to get to July 1st. I got to get to July 1st. Stop acquiring goalies. I'm trying to get to July 1st. Ah, Brian Elliott. Like, do you think that James Reimer takes less salary, but he'll actually sign a multi-year deal, even though knowing he may not be a number one goalie this year, to intentionally get drafted to Las Vegas next year, where he can be a number one goalie?
Yeah.
Or something where I think is like if there's like a goalie tandem or if there's like a goalie situation where he can steal away the number one job and have the other goalie go. I know on Twitter tonight there's a few people talking, and I think it was Gen X. Gen X brought up the idea of him going to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So and there's a guy like they could protect Reimer and they could put Mike Smith up for expansion drafting. And
That
then
actually makes a lot of sense to me.
it does make a lot of sense as long as somebody actually takes Mike Smith, because if he doesn't,
Yeah.
then you're in trouble. It's a gamble, but I mean, you might, something like that actually makes a lot of sense. And I obviously want to give credit to the people that were talking about it. I just stole it from them and put it on the show.
Well, that's why I was kind of going back and forth with it tonight. Is now essentially there really isn't any starting spot for Reimer to go in and take over. So now I wonder which backup spot would he take? Would he take? Would he go to maybe L.A.? Would he go to Anaheim? Could he go? I mean, the running joke would be he's going to Dallas for $6 million. So, I mean, but Tampa. Do you go? Well, no, not Tampa, but I mean, there's a number of spots. You maybe go to Winnipeg and push somebody out there.
Winnipeg, I think, would be great, but the problem is they have three goalies.
They're set.
Yeah, they're stacked there. All right, make it quick, Slushy. And thank you for not having a towel on your head.
Well, thanks for having me on. But my question was for Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
What's a bigger need for them? A defenseman, because they have Markov, they have obviously Subban, they have Petrie, but out of that it's pretty thin. And there's yeah. Sorry, my mic's not working.
No, you're cool, Ed. You're cool. We're just giving you a hard time as usual.
But, or is it with centers? Because, Plekanec and Galchenyuk had a great year last year, but, the team wasn't doing great. I was just wondering, what was a bigger need for them? Getting Sergachev or maybe missing out on Logan Brown?
See, I would have, if I'm them, I probably would have drafted Logan Brown. I think they need the size up front. But Sergachev's not a terrible pick. Like, it's, they kind of, it's one of those picks where it's like neither of these guys are going to be like, they're going to need development time anyway, because I think that this year's draft really dropped out after 8-ish, honestly, in my opinion. So I think Logan Brown would have been a fine pick for them, but I like the Sergachev thing. Their defense is also beyond PK Subban, it's not amazing.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, and you can have
thanks, Slushy. Appreciate that.
Tutor him for a year. I mean, I feel like every year, or every other year, it's Andrei Markov is the best defenseman in the league, according to the Habs fans, and then the very next year it's, yeah, can we get rid of this contract? Yeah. So, I guess, he can tutor him for a year since he's still got 1 year left, and then take over, I guess, essentially. But I like Sergachev from Montreal.
I like the pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jake. Got out there.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right, so let's move on. We kind of pushed the draft out of the way, so now we can get on to some other things that happened during the week.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about the shutout at the NHL awards, or maybe the fix at the NHL awards. No Norris for Brent Burns. He was a distant third in the voting between Doughty and Carlson, and my honest opinion, I thought if Burnsy's not going to win it, then that's Doughty's for the taking. I thought for sure.
See, I disagree. I think everyone's angry at the wrong thing. It's not. No one should be angry that Doughty stole Burns' Norris Trophy. They should be mad that Doughty stole Carlson's Norris Trophy.
Yeah.
Really? See, I think part of the factor was being in there to take your team to the playoffs. But yeah, Carlson had a hell of a year. But what was it? Fourth time for Doughty.
Yeah, I think Doughty, here's the thing with Doughty, was like, I feel like this was like a make-up Norris. This kind of made up for the one that he should have won a little bit back, and he didn't. And I feel like this is kind of like a make-up from the writers. To me, it wasn't even close this year. I remember when Brent Burns got announced for the trophy, I was like, hey, look, Brent Burns and Drew Doughty get to lose the Carlson, they get to lose the Norris to Carlson. To me, it should have been Carlson going away, but I'm not surprised. Like I guess I was kind of surprised how few first place votes that Burns got. I think, but aside from that, I was pretty fine with it. I mean, all these awards are yeah, exactly. Vince G in the chat. It was the he was due effect. Like these things just happen sometimes, or you win it based on reputation. But
Yeah, didn't that happen to Duncan Keith for years?
It did. Yeah.
Right. Oh, totally. So moving onward to the controversial part of the NHL awards tonight. And it wasn't even an award. It was the NHL 17 cover, hashtag NHL 17 Pavelski, which apparently will now become hashtag NHL 18 Pavelski, because Vladimir Tarasenko won the cover for NHL 17. Teal City Crew, which we'll give a shout out to on Twitter, was able to pull up the stats, and Pavelski supposedly had massive amounts more of votes. I'll start with Kevin here. I have a feeling there might be potential for an AJ style rant on this, but did Pavs get screwed over?
Pav absolutely got screwed over. I mean, when the Sharks went into the series with St. Louis, you thought, well, that's funny. Pavelski and Tarasenko are going head-to-head. Well, this should be the easiest decision that EA has ever had to make about their cover, because of the fact that the players are literally going head-to-head. And so Pavelski, I don't have the stats on me anymore. I posted them online. But Pavelski had, what, six points plus 4 or 5, something like that, 4 goals, couple game-winning goals. Tarasenko had those 2 meaningless goals at the end of Game 6, and he was -4. So that should tell you right there who should be on the cover, not to mention the fact that NHL 17 Pavelski had significantly more votes, apparently, according to Teal City Crew, which I did see that report and thought it was very interesting. And probably, just looking at those numbers, NHL 17 Pavelski probably had more votes than Tarasenko, and NHL 17 probably had more votes than Tarasenko. So I know it's the vote is an influence on EA's final decision, but
right.
Holy moly, guys!
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Like, I don't know, like, I saw the numbers too, and I don't know how they got those numbers, so I don't know how accurate they are. I know that you could also vote on the website, and that obviously wasn't counted. I don't know if that played a factor. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, the outrage was just a little overblown. Like, I get the disappointment of it, but the outrage was just a
I will admit, I'm already
overblown. Just a little bit, guys. We're better than this. Yeah, it just, to me, like, I get it. Like, especially when, I mean, look, we all knew all the time that all we were doing was just, hashtagging, promoting the fuck out of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And, they used us. They used us, damn it.
Trivia question for you guys. Who was the first Shark to appear on a video game cover?
Oh, excuse me for a moment.
Was it not Owen Nolan?
Okay, Kevin, we're waiting. Ian, you're saying Owen Nolan? Kevin? Kevin?
As far as I can remember, no.
I hear some rambling behind Kevin's picture as a...
Now, I'm pretty sure there actually was someone on, like, it wasn't a 2K game, but... One of those.
I thought it was after.
I just wanted to say I still have my NHL 2000.
Nice. That's the first time a Shark was solely on.
Solely. I know what you're talking about, and I can't.
I think it was 1997. I believe it was for Sega CD for NHL Hockey 97.
I knew there was an off one there.
And it would belong to Sean Donovan, of all people, going up against, I believe, Radek Dvorak, who technically was a Shark
for a second.
For a second.
for Florida Panthers. Yeah, so you have Sean Donovan, Owen Nolan, Joe Thornton, who was on I think 2K7, if I'm not mistaken, and then of course in the 2K series before it died, it was Randy and Drew who actually called the game itself. So a little bit of trivia there. We'll move on. I mean, AJ and I did pretty much an entire show about the schedule, but thanks to our friends on the forecheck and thanks to Chris JWS for mentioning this. Congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. You are going to have the most air mileage in the NHL this year. The Sharks will be the second most traveled this season.
I just want to switch every year between the two.
By a mere 400 miles. So my question to you guys is this.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is I hope they get good free flights in the middle of the summer with all their air miles that they get.
Oh, no doubt.
I hope they get free train rides in the summer so that they don't have to fly anywhere.
16 back-to-backs, though, eh? Yikes.
Yeah.
Goalie.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? I'll pull up some of the info that I have.
Well, a couple of them were like, it was like, because I know AJ cannot, and I don't blame him, cannot stand the whole, why aren't we back-to-back in L.A., Anaheim? Yeah. But I love how it's like a game in L.A., and then a home game, and then a game, and it's like, that's not the back-to-backs that we've been requesting here.
Yeah, it's go figure that they play in L.A. on the 27th, come home to play the Flyers, and then go back down to L.A. the next night. Go figure.
This is dumb.
It's one of those where you scratch your head and you think about Jerry Seinfeld and you go, what's the deal with that? I mean,
come on.
I mean, you go down to Anaheim, and you go back up to San Jose, and then you go back to L.A. What's the deal there? I mean, come on.
Hey, that's really good. That's up there with your short house, buddy.
Did somebody say John Shorthouse?
Absolutely.
And I'm running the show tonight. No, I'll be good. I'll save it for the first... Yes. All right. Before we get off the deep end, I've been also working on my Jim Houston.
Nice.
All right. So let's get to what's coming up next for the Sharks, and that is the free agency. Free agent frenzy is right around the corner, guys. Let's take a look at this. Their UFAs. Some you guys you're hoping they're not going to be around. UFAs include Roman Polak, Nick Smalling, Danny Zubris, Michael Haley. Michael Haley, also known as the guy that beat the crap out of the Oiler guy and also scored the first ever Barracuda goal. Bay Area native Matt Tennyson and James Reimer. Let's start off with the UFAs. Ian, I'll start with you on this. Out of those 6, who's coming back in teal?
I don't think any of them, honestly. I feel like the one guy you might take a look at would be Matt Tennyson, but I feel like he's been passed so many times on the depth chart at this point that you got to cut bait. You got to cut bait. You got to make room for someone that might actually turn into something. I have no faith in Matt Tennyson becoming anything at this point. Everything else equals, see you later.
You could find something better.
I don't think it's not necessarily an issue of finding something better. I just think we can fill from within the system.
Yeah. All right, Kevin. Out of those 6, do you see anybody that can return?
Smalling, maybe. I thought Smalling. I actually a fan of Smalling. I think he does a great job on faceoffs, and I wish he would have a little more wherewithal in the offensive zone when he has the puck, but I think he does a fine job. If his contract gets into Adam Burris territory, I'd probably say, yeah, go back to Toronto, kid, or whatever. But of those guys, probably nobody. I'd like Reimer. The guy who's not on there who is a UFA is Aaron Dell.
Yeah, I didn't mean to Alex Medjur.
I would like them to re-sign Dell, but it's a question of, would he be the backup? Would he be the starter with the Barracuda? Does he want to go somewhere that he might be able to get an NHL backup role? So I think of those guys, Spalling has the best chance. Of all of them altogether, maybe Dell, but we'll see.
My concern is that you've signed Troy Grosnick to a one-way deal for this coming season.
Still for peanuts, though.
I really think he gets bought out. I really do.
Or do they just roll with the chance of sending him, putting him through waivers and sending him, hopefully get back over to the Barracuda?
Oh, he would clear waivers, but he's especially because he's on a one-way deal next year.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, no one's taking him. He's just honestly, the way I see it is, I think that if the Sharks are going to hold on to Dell, I think he's extended already. I think that bringing in Armalis, I think it's going to be Armalis and Grosnick that are going to share the Barracuda duties. And then, you have Jamie Murray down in the ECHL, who will probably fight for time down there and try and move up the ranks from there. But I really think, getting Armalis and I just think that really put the writing on the wall for Dell. Because Dell's not going to be anything. Like he's another guy who I don't think has any NHL upside.
Yeah.
I think Dell has proven himself, his numbers certainly have, at the AHL level, that we don't know if he'd be an NHL goalie. I don't think he'd be a starting NHL goalie, but he might be one of those late blooming Scott Darling kind of guys that just comes in at 29 years old. He's not that old, but 29 years old, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, wow. There you go.
But I mean, we went with but at the same time, you got to think the Sharks are scared to death that it's that it could also be Stalock all over again with the team that has basically a 1-year window to compete. I think that they're going to want someone with more of a veteran presence behind Jones.
Absolutely. Now getting to the interesting part of this graphic here. If I can go back up, there we go. The restricted free agents. You have Tomas Hertl, Long Beach native Matt Nieto. Holla! You're welcome.
Dang, I was totally gonna say that.
And yeah, I know I spelled that wrong. My bad. And Dylan DeMello. So guys, I mean, obviously I'm thinking we're going to keep DeMello. Nieto maybe. The concern I have is on Hertl getting an offer sheet from somebody and somebody vastly overpaying.
Then you let him walk.
What would you say would be fair for him to stay? What would be the max that you would pay Hertl for?
4.5.
4.5.
4.5 AAV is what I would probably be content with. I think if you get between 4.5 and 5, it's it's a little bit of an overpayment. You get up to the 6 range, and you just unless they go max term, unless it's like 6 by 8, then forget it.
I would give him 4. I think he'll get signed at 5, but I could also see there being a bridge deal. Just like, all right, you got hurt again, so we want to make sure that you're healthy here next year. Give him a 1-year deal 4 and then revisit. But I really think they're going to give him maybe. Well, I can't remember where his UFA status would be later down the line. So X number of years at $5 million per season.
And he's 22 years old right now.
So 3-year deal.
So 3-year deal would get him to UFA, I will believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, see, that's where I got. So the years of service thing really throws me off.
It really throws because it's like 27-ish. You know what though? But I mean, if he gets an offer sheet, if it's a stupid offer sheet,
oh, I would take it.
And enlighten us, Ian. If you were to get like a $5 million deal, what do we get in return? Because that's something that would be huge if they did let it go.
First and a second, but I don't. You might want to check that. But
I'm gonna check it. Give me a second.
Yeah, I feel like it's 2 firsts and a second at that price range.
If you were,
and we're talking what, 5 or 4.5? 4.5 might be a little less than that. But I think
Yeah,
it's 6 and over is 3 first-round picks.
if you go, oh no, it's way too high. Yeah, I don't know. See, if you go between 4, 5, 5, and basically 7-ish, you get a first, a second, and a third. And you know
Oh, is
what?
that
I
what it is?
probably take it. Because I just like Hurdle's gonna be worth it at some point, but he's just not.
He's
You're
not ready
completely
yet, and
you
he's iffy
completely.
on the knees.
It's not even that, but we haven't seen enough of Hurdle without Joe Thornton to decide if he's a
Yeah.
$7 million guy.
That is a good point, Ian, because we all saw it early on how horrific he was having with the season being a center, because after all, once we traded James Shepard, the former actual Disney prince James Shepard, that he was supposed to be our third line center. It was going to be that Pavelski thing where we have him on the third line, and it's just going to be working wonders. And instead we move him up to the top line. And, oh, I know how to score again. So yeah, that's the interesting call, is that if he can
And
play
it's
without being with a mainstay. Sorry,
and it's not
go ahead.
even like
Go ahead.
him being sorry, Ian. If it's
No,
not
it's
even him being on Thornton's line or a top line, and then being on a third line or something, like we haven't even seen him put up numbers with guys like Couture.
Yeah,
Precisely.
and you got to think like the Sharks have to make some really tough choices going into this offseason. Especially, we don't know what's going to happen with the with the expansion draft. We don't know what the Sharks are going to do July 1st. Like it's going to be a tricky thing that the Sharks are going to have to figure out. And you got to re-sign Brent Burns. And to me, if I'm Brent Burns, I'm going to point at Dustin Byfuglien's contract and say, I want that. Which, for the record, is $7.6 million a year, because he could easily command that, and then some, probably.
And I think he can actually get more too.
He probably could.
Which
Do you
is
do you guys think that some of these like I saw Radko Gudas, for example, with Philly, get a ridiculous amount, Brendan Dillon type money for a Brendan Dillon type player yesterday. Do you think some of these teams intentionally up the salaries of lower end guys to deter Las Vegas from taking guys like that in the expansion draft?
No, I don't think Vegas cares, because they have to take so much money. Like, they have to take on so many dollars. So I don't think they care, honestly. I think Vegas, I mean, they're going to get off to a decent start, I think. They're probably going to get off to a decent start. It's going to be interesting to see how that transitions, like with the contracts that they take. I mean, you're going to start with no farm system, basically.
Right.
And they're going to build it up, but that's the part of the expansion that sucks the most, is you come in with no farm system. And it's going to take some time to build that up. So I think they'll be okay until they kind of get a farm system in there. But they're going to be a good team, but it's not like they're going to be super competitive right off the bat forever. Like there's going to be probably a little bit of a drop off there, and then hopefully an upswing for them.
Yeah.
not precisely. It's one of those things where you just never know. You just never know. For that matter, guys, is there anybody out there in the free agent market that the Sharks could go after? They have $13 million to spend on the cap, but again, like you said, you have a number of players, including a couple of minor leaguers, to go out and sign.
Yeah, I mean, look, DeMello's not going to cost you much. I still think you bring him back because he's a good depth forward, or depth defenseman. Sorry. I don't know if you roll that. If you go back to the Dylan DeMello for the third pair, but I still think you probably want like a veteran, a guy in the mix there too. But I still think you go back and get DeMello. Again, Hurdle's going to take 4.5 of that, maybe. Maybe upwards of 5 of that, and it's you need a backup goalie. There's another, there's another maybe $1.5, $2 million. You need to sign Nieto, probably another 1.5, 1.75. Hopefully not 2. So there's definitely like some of these guys are going to eat that up, and then you're going to need still, you probably want to sign a couple of guys. It's really hard to say. Like, I don't think the Sharks really need much in this thing, but it's also foolish to think that, well, they needed to bring in all these guys before. Why would they, why wouldn't they need to do it again? So it's going to be interesting on how that goes.
They still have a need on defense because, I mean, they didn't get rid of 2 second-round or trade 2 second-round picks to get Polak just to lose Polak right away. I mean, they still have that void, and I don't know if DeMello can fill it. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. There was one defenseman that I thought would have been an interesting fit, and that was Kevin Miller of Boston. And Boston threw a ton of money at him. I don't blame him for re-signing there.
Yeah.
So that one got washed out. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think it's that strong of a free agent market. I think the value of defensemen in the trade market is going to go up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and I don't know about Polak. Like, Polak's one of those guys where I'm terrified because it's like seems like just one of those guys that Doug Wilson just we need to have one on the team, whether it was whether it's Semenoff or Volin or it's just we always have them. Ratchy.
I didn't think Polak was that bad until the end
until
of the
the Penguins series. Yeah.
Yeah, until the Penguins, it was really bad.
Bobby Dallas. Sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, Bobby Dallas.
Well, I was going to say Bobby Dallas. You remember him?
I remember him.
He put out a tweet like, whoa, cut the minutes. And I'm like, Bobby Dallas is saying this.
Well, if Jeff Norton was on Twitter, he probably would have said, oh, man, maybe Doug Wilson can bring me back to the Sharks for a 4th time. But I digress. As most of you all know, I am a logo and design freak to this, so it goes without saying. You guys talked about it on the writers' room for the Florida Panthers jerseys. Mm-hmm. Tonight, we officially saw the Maple Leafs break out their new unis. I'm sorry, it's like they added an extra stripe on the arms and pasted over the Tampa Bay Lightning jerseys. Because seriously, people. I mean, and I know the guy who works for Reebok, and I've been trying to talk to him on numerous amounts on jerseys because we both belong to the same logo board. But my God, can you make them similar? I mean, when the Leafs go play Tampa, I mean, or here, like I think I saw on a tweet tonight, Toronto's secret plan is to convince that Stamkos is re-signing with Tampa Bay, and then do a quick logo switcheroo on the jersey and say, "Ha ha! We got you now." But what did you guys think of these new threads for the Leafs?
I'll go first. Look, when it comes to arbitrary 6 teams, there's not a whole lot you can do with them. Obviously, you can't drastically deviate from what any of those 6 teams are going to look like ever. I don't like the arms. Like, I don't like they bother me. I don't know. They don't do anything for me, but they're just like a typical arbitrary 6 sweater in my opinion. Like, they're nothing special.
I looked at them last night and I just thought, where's the announcement coming? They look exactly the same to me. Like, it's just a different logo, but nothing's changed on the jersey outside of the waist stripe. Like, I don't know. But
yeah, I'm kind of surprised by it myself. Really disappointed by it, but I think I can cheat and get like a cheap the old Maple Leafs logo really quick at a price. Speaking of the other one, although we already seen one, unfortunately.
I'm the only one that hates them, but
the Penguins decide they are officially going back to Pittsburgh Gold. Not the biggest shocker in the world, but they are ditching the Vegas Gold road jerseys that they won the Cup in and making a retro white version of their now home jersey. I personally, I wish they would have just done something a little more modern rather than just go back to a complete throwback of what they had before.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I like it. It's the way they should be.
Yeah. See, my thing was, and I kind of proposed this to, I forget who I sent it to, but I had proposed an idea that the Sharks should have like a black jersey of sorts with the let me see if I can pull it up here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Kind of a similar style like that, where they kind of have the similar teal and but use the original striping on it. So, nonetheless, Kevin, you look like you're going to grab something. What are you? What are
Yeah,
you
I'm
looking at?
trying to anyway. Let's
All
see
right.
if I can do it properly.
As opposed to inappropriately, that wouldn't be good.
Is the
Nonetheless,
graphic up?
I see. I don't see
Yeah.
anything there.
Yeah, I
Yep.
see what's
Give me
going on.
that. I want that. I don't
Thank
want the
you.
crap that they came out with. Give me these, and I will be happy with their
What's the
retro
other logo,
cards.
though?
I mean, to me, the reason why you got rid of your logo in the first place, unless you were the Sharks, is because it was time for a change. Like things had to go. You made so now all of a sudden you're changing it back. Why'd you change it in the first place? I just don't understand it.
Because they
Most
won
retro,
2 Stanley Cups in it, and now they're going to say they actually won a third with them.
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they got rid of the Vegas Gold. Obviously, that sets up the Las Vegas Black Knights. I think is the biggest, obvious choice there. So they can go black and gold with a hint of silver. Um, that kind of sets them up to take the Vegas Gold and Blacks moniker. But I digress. As far as we know, that's it for the major uniform changes going into the league this year. It won't be too much the rest of the way, I don't think, except for like patches and then, of course, the outdoor game jerseys. Because heaven forbid Pittsburgh and Philly playing an outdoor game again this year.
I'm playing in all the outdoor games this year.
Are you?
Yeah, I've decided it.
Nice. Outstanding.
Outstanding.
All right, moving
Is
on.
Montreal doing outdoor this year?
No, it's St. Louis and Chicago in the Winter Classic.
Oh, wow.
Toronto and Detroit in the Centennial Classic, which apparently will kick off the league's 100th anniversary. The Flyers and Penguins will be in the Stadium Series. And the one that kicks it off like a few weeks into the season, it's Edmonton and Winnipeg in the Heritage Classic out in good old Winnipeg. Contrary to popular belief, I am not going to that game, so don't even think about it. But looking at oh guys, take a look at the chat. Wow, they are coming up with some interesting names here. The Las Vegas Pink, the Las Vegas Tassels. Let's see.
Flyer
Let's
slappers.
see. The
Absolutely.
Flyer Slappers, yep. Flamingos. Las Vegas free drinks. Yeah, it's. Oh,
The
here,
Las Vegas Money Ranch.
we'll throw this out there since that came out a couple days ago. What do you think of Vegas being the 31st team?
I'm fine with it. I've been pro Vegas this whole time though. I strongly believe that. I know that it's not a popular belief. I understand that still need people to spend the money and stuff, but I still think that if you want to grow the game, you have to go to markets that don't make sense. You can't just if you just stick your teams in hockey hotbeds, then you're not going to make new fans. You're just going to divert other fans from other teams to,
Right.
Like I just think that's the way it is, and I think that it's a painful thing, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But if you're going to try and grow the game, you need it in markets where it's not covered, and so I think that, and I think like a lot of the criticism of Vegas is really kind of foolish, to be honest. Like I think that people like, oh well, no one's gonna go to Vegas to go to a hockey game. I think they will, but I think the point that everyone's missing is that 2 million people live in Vegas, and they don't have something of their own. They don't care about the Strip. Like everyone thinks like everyone loves Vegas for the Strip. If you live in Vegas, you don't know the Strip is filled with a bunch of tourist jerk offs. They, like
who are
me.
completely drunk and or half
Right.
naked,
And,
which isn't always a bad thing.
And you deal with them probably when you work. I think that'll be an interesting thing is with a city that generally works at night. I don't know, that'll be an interesting thing for hockey game attendance. But I think there's enough people there that I think that the city is going to, will it be like, is it going to be Quebec City? No, obviously. And I'm not going to say it's going to be embraced like it would be in Quebec City. But I think that it's underestimated how much the local people are going to be ecstatic to have something of their own that's theirs.
Kevin?
Yeah, people didn't even know that San Jose even existed. So, and our market is, we have Pucknology after dark. Enough said right there. Las Vegas is the right move. Yeah, it's a little wonky having 31 teams, but that just opens up a sponsorship with Baskin Robbins. So come on, NHL, get on that. But yeah, we'd like 32 teams. We're going to get 31. I do not worry whatsoever about the talent pool being diluted. It's not 1999, and it's not 4 teams dipping into the talent pool. It's 1 team. And as we've talked about earlier in this podcast, there are too many goalies for the number of teams. So this actually helps the talent.
And I feel like that's the thing. Like I always feel like at the end of the year, there's always like these guys that should be in the NHL, and they're taking these tryouts and trying to just find a spot.
Just went to Europe because he, I know he was an AHL player last season, but I don't know. He'd be serviceable for sure on a 31st team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in favor of Vegas as a franchise, though. It creates a nice little buzz for the league as a whole, and you don't know if it fails until it does. Right now, it hasn't failed, and it's succeeding. They have a very serious owner. Aren't we always complaining about how we need some serious owners in the NHL? Florida, Carolina. So Vegas has a serious owner in Bill Foley. He's really passionate about it. If you watch that press conference, he's really passionate about it.
Although, as Chris Edwards, I'm sure will bug me, the Maloofs are involved, and that's problematic.
Which kind of makes what I'm going to say next an interesting question. They need an
STDs. Sorry.
Wow. Wow. But my question here is this: they need to to bring up all their farm kids and everything for their development. And there's talks that they would probably put a franchise in the AHL either in Fresno or Sacramento.
I heard Reno.
And you heard Reno?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard where they would stick them in Reno. There isn't an arena quite ready yet, so we'll see. Reno would be another spot for them too. If they were in Sacramento or Fresno, you kind of keep them on the I-5 Highway 99 corridor. But Reno would be great too, and to throw it in with Arizona and Tucson. Another West Coast hockey team taking shape. But I just saw this, and it's, man, if somebody were to come out of retirement, this would be great. That's all I'm saying. There you go.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, I saw Aesthetics put that out.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, please, Coyotes, put that out. Put that out, and then try to bring out to like a game, have a retirement game.
That sweater, and I want to wear it to Detroit.
Right?
I would never leave Detroit alive, but I would like to I'm gonna buy that sweater and bring it to Detroit. That's it.
Well, Kevin Kurz put out a funny tweet. I know, but he put out a funny tweet about
hey, wow.
Yeah, the Coyotes are building quite the leadership core there with Datsuk and Pronger, C and A, right?
That's true. I forgot they had Pronger.
I love this though because as soon those contracts, Datsuk's 1 year, Like these contracts are gonna be up. Like when this team is ready to go, like those contracts will be gone. And as much as I'm maybe is not as high on Jacob Chekrin as other people are, that's still. I mean, I feel like that at at 16, that was still somewhat of a steal. And if that pans out, I mean that team again, man, I hate it. The Pacific Division's getting good, or at least it should be.
I was just kind of, I put out the tweet earlier as at half joking, like, is John Chayka old enough to draft players to his team? Because he looked younger than some of those guys as the GM.
Well, everyone looks younger than Arnek Blatt. Yeah, no, you know what, yeah, maybe the Datsuk trade wasn't great, but I liked it. I mean, he saw what he wanted. It was aggressive. I give the kid some.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Mm-hmm. Eric, I just want to touch up on what you mentioned about Vegas's affiliate. I think Thomas put out the article on Pucknology.net about Salt Lake City and Reno being the favorites, but yeah, in Vegas, don't put your farm team in Vegas because I mean, there's already enough criticisms about can they draw. You're going to dilute your market. Like, you're going to split your market by having two teams in Vegas.
No, that won't work if you put it in Vegas.
Fresno's an interesting option. I did hear that. I thought what I read about that, if Fresno got a team, they would play at the Save Mart, or not the Save Mart Center. Is Save Mart Center the new one or the old one?
The new one.
Okay, I heard they wouldn't play at the Save Mart Center. They play
at Selland?
Yeah, Selland Arena. That's it.
Really?
Yeah, and I looked up trying to find information about why that would be, and I couldn't come up with anything. But this at Selland Arena would be the home of a Fresno possible AHL team. Sacramento is a logical place, but I still just personally think the Barracuda are going to wind up in Sacramento here in a couple of years. I know that they invested money in bringing Worcester over here, but I don't know. I think it's a short-term thing.
Where? So, and Arizona's going to get a new building? Like, they're actually going to dupe somebody else into building them a building? Is this? Am I understanding this right?
Yeah, you're understanding that right, because it's the final year of their lease in Glendale, and after all the crap that Glendale gave them and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if I forget what the name of the arena is now, but the arena formerly known as the arena formerly known as America West Arena, where the Suns play right now. It looks like eventually will be the home for the Coyotes until they get a new arena built. Now, we're not certain if that means if it goes into Tempe or if they get a deal with like the University of Arizona or Arizona State for that matter, because remember they have the D1 hockey team there as well. But I also know the Phoenix Suns are also kind of kicking the tires about trying to get a new arena in downtown Phoenix, to which they'd probably go back to the Phoenix Coyotes, of course. So that's all up remains to be seen, but I think one thing's for certain, and I'll have to talk to my friend Rhonda about that we definitely won't see them in Glendale. All right, Kevin, what is so funny?
Oh, I just thought they're going to go back to the Phoenix Coyotes. Like, after all that?
No, branding costs a lot of money. They're staying in Arizona Coyotes. I can't believe, like, if they're just going to get, like, their own arena, like, I understand, like, some of the options are they want to build one for, like, at one at the university, I guess, and share it with them. I know the Suns owner really doesn't want the Coyotes in the new building. He doesn't want to show the new building. I don't know. It just... it makes no sense, but I can't believe if taxpayers are really going to get duped into another part into building them another arena, that is, to me, crazy.
Yeah. Well, at least it would be the Phoenix taxpayers and not the Glendale taxpayers, since Phoenix is taking all Glendale's money anyway. But.
Yeah, that's kind of on them at the same time.
I don't know the local politics, but I can't see, like, after what happened with the the Coyotes at Glendale that someone, like anybody, is going to be like, yeah, here, we'll give you a bunch of money to build you a rink. Like, it just, that to me, that's insane. Like, I can understand if you're going to share a facility like with the university or something, that makes a ton more sense. But to just give them a new building of their own, that is just ludicrous to me.
Where's the college team playing at? Are they playing in Tempe?
I believe they're. I'm gonna have to look it up because I know they did play some games at Gila River Arena.
Okay, yeah.
But I think they're
because I was
they have an
wondering
arena themselves.
I was wondering how if the Coyotes were to move back into Phoenix, how that might affect their college team that they just developed, and in terms of availability.
And that's also what they were talking about, is having an arena in Tempe. So let's see. For their first season, the Sun Devils will continue to call Oceanside Ice Arena home, but they'll play multiple games at Glendale's Gila River Arena, home of the NHL's Arizona Coyotes. Prior to the Sun Devils' move to NCAA play, Oceanside seated only 500, but underwent extensive renovations, expanding the capacity to a whopping 840, as well as giving the facelift in ASU colors. The future home facility is still up in the air as ASU Athletic Director Ray Anderson continues to weigh options. A further renovated Oceanside Ice Arena could be used or some other off-campus location. The school could choose to renovate its basketball facility, Wells Fargo Arena, but that doesn't seem likely, and I don't think it would work. But that's where the whole Coyotes Arena in Tempe would come into play. So we shall see what goes on with Arizona. Obviously, they are building something down in Arizona, but who knows what. So
It wouldn't be the off season without talking about Arizona and their arena.
Right. So
what do they play? Like, are they Division One? Like, what are they?
They're Division One.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah. They're right up there. So interesting. You play an arena for 840 people for Division One. There's something for you.
Oh, there you have it.
But with that being said, Ian, final thoughts before we get out of here?
I hate everyone. No, look, tomorrow is when the Sharks are finally going to do stuff. Maybe trade away all the rest of their picks so that I can see the weekend. I think tomorrow you could see some things to expect. Obviously, the Sharks are going to jump into the action at number 60. There's some really good players still on the board, so I'm curious to see, how quickly guys like Alex DeBrincat and what's his name, Rasmus.
Asplund.
Yeah, guys like that. I'm curious to see how quickly they fall off the board. There's some decent players that are going to be on the board tomorrow to start. So I'm curious to see what goes on with that. I will be tweeting all about it the whole time, as always. And then tomorrow night, we're going to do a show again. It'll be a writer's room show, and we'll discuss what the Sharks did and get all nerdy with it and be awesome.
All right. Kevin, your final thoughts?
Well, the draft was, Oh, actually, my final thoughts are the NHL awards at 4 p.m. Pacific time. I'm not going to watch that. But the NHL draft at 4 p.m., you always got my attention. I love the draft. It's a fun time of the year. DeBrincat is my top remaining player, so watch him to go early. I still really hope that the Sharks will draft Ulf Dahlen's son, Jonathan Dahlen, at 60. But I'm sure we all know that Doug Wilson will move up. Somehow package a second and a third and second and a fourth and a fifth or something for another second.
Right.
But as much as the Sharks need a young defenseman or another young defenseman, if you don't trust the Sharks' track record at developing defensemen, let's just go with a forward. Jonathan Dahlen is still my guy.
My guys, couple guys that I would look at would be like I still think we need a defenseman. I still like the idea of Victor Met. I like Andrew Peak. If you're gonna draft a forward, Dolan would be a nice pick. I also like Cliff Poo at 60 as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Yeah, and should be interesting to see what the Sharks do with the remaining picks in the draft, or if they make any trade moves or whatnot. Should be interesting tomorrow, and make sure you hit up the Pucknology Writers Room for the rest of your coverage. And while you're at, make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you subscribe here. We do a live post-game show once there's hockey again. Probably not quite all the preseason games since they aren't covered all the way. But nonetheless, for more Sharks news and information, make sure you visit pucknology.net. Of course, subscribe down below, and then we will be back. Excuse me?
I said World Cup. We'll do post game for World Cup. It'll be awesome.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna test the new batteries on Ian's 2016-17 robot for sure. Oh my goodness. With that, for Kevin Lacey, for Ian Reed, for our entire staff who isn't here, I am Eric Cura. You can follow me on Twitter at PuckGuy14. You can follow Pucknology at Pucknology on Twitter as well. We will talk to you in some form tomorrow following the NHL draft because, well, there would still be 6 days before free agency goes cray-cray on us. So until then, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh, and Chris, keep recovering from that upper body injury. Good night, everyone.